This is Shades of Content, a podcast created for and featuring women of color who create and distribute content as a means to tell stories to the masses. I'm your host, Patrice, owner of CAMPspace, and I'm passionate about giving diverse women creators a space to be awesome. Let's go. Hey, thanks for listening. How awesome would it be to have a tool that helped you plan out 365 days worth of Black Girl Magic focused content? Super awesome, right? Well, no worries, because we created just that. The Black Girl Holiday Content Creator Companion is a calendar and coloring book that's filled with things that can help you plan out content that engages and empowers your audience. It includes over 450 Black women-focused holidays, events, milestones, and more than 14 never-seen-before coloring pages to help you de-stress and decompress. It also includes quarterly writing prompts, social media goal trackers, and really countless ideas for your Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, podcasts, Pinterest, any type of content. You can figure it out using this planner. It's a must-have. So visit blackgirlholidays.com to get your copy today. A link is also in our show notes, of course. www.blackgirlholidays.com, because every day is a Black Girl holiday. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Shades of Content. I'm your host, Patrice, and I realized that there might be some new listeners here today. I just kind of wanted to introduce myself a little bit and give you a little background on the show if this is your first time tapping in. I'm a mother of three. I'm married, a content creator, and I'm a business owner. My business is CAMPspace, which is a content studio specifically created for women of color, but anybody can use it. And I am the host of this podcast, Shades of Content, which actually started as a way for me to get into the lives of Black women content creators, to give them an opportunity to share their stories. But I've recently been really thinking about the podcast and how I can just take it up a notch, have deeper conversations. And so that's my goal. And so this is probably the second of, maybe the third of the more in-depth conversations and episodes that I have released on this podcast. So I just want it to be more honest and more impactful. So if you're new, you are tuning in at a great time. Of course, go back, listen to the other episodes. You can go ahead and binge this whole podcast. This is actually episode number 31. So there are 30 previous episodes that you can listen to learn obviously more about my business and myself, but really more about the Black women content creators who are killing the game. Some of them are my friends. I've known them before content creation was a thing. And some of them are women who I just think are dope and wanted to highlight on this show. There are also some really educational podcast episodes. One of them is, how I talks about and tells you how I got $20,000, actually $20,000 plus in grant money. I talk about how I pivoted my business from a co-work space to a content creator studio. So I drop a lot of gems in a lot of these podcast episodes. Check it out. As you can see, I'm in my house today. I wanted to record this from the studio, but life is life. So I'm in my house. Those are my kids back there. And we're all about consistency, right? And I know I kind of fell off around February, March, but I'm back and I've been doing episodes every week. Some of them have been replays, and I'm getting smarter about it, but this is an all new episode. So if you're new here, I'm so happy and thankful you're here. I hope you stay around for the long haul. And if you're a returner, thank you, sis. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. I've really been digging into a lot of new content, just taking it in. I have a lot of new podcasts in rotation. Shout out to Good Moms, Bad Choices. That is literally one of my favorite podcasts. They have some very real, super real, sometimes sexual conversations, but just so good. And it's just so refreshing to hear other moms who are women first, right? I love Earn Your Leisure. They're always dropping gems. My girls at Poor Minds, and I say they're my girls, I don't know them, but I'm a poor girl. I love Poor Minds. I've also been listening to the Profitable Travel Blogger podcast and just taking in all this new content to try to understand my voice and what I want to give to the world and who I want to connect with. I say all that to say, definitely expand your database, I guess, of the type of content that you're taking in. Listen to something new, try out a new show, and just kind of see, because you never know. It might inspire you, it might help you, it might motivate you to do something. So let's dig into the episode. Some of you know this if you've been listening to the show from way back. You know that before I opened CAMPspace, I was a full-time communications and marketing strategist, I guess. I also would go by the role of publicist. Through that role of being a comms communications person, I pitched international, national, local media, right? So this is what I do. And while I don't do PR consulting anymore for outside entities, I've spent like the last 15 years doing PR for other entities, nonprofits, celebrities, musicians, small business owners. But I don't do that anymore. So I don't really do PR consulting anymore for other businesses, but I do all of the PR for my business, CAMPspace. And if you follow me or my business on social media, you'll see that recently we've just been getting a lot of press. And it's not really recently, like there's probably a press mention of my business once a month. You know, in a good month, there's 2 big press mentions or articles written about my business. And that has been vital in sharing my business to people who don't live in the DMV, to people who don't know me. It's been essential in solidifying my business and my efforts as credible. It's been really important in, stamping me and my business as this hub for women, Black women content creation. And all the work that I've done for the greater good also, but when you have press mention you and feature you, it just really stamps it and shows that you know what you're doing, right? And you ain't no shabby shab. PR is really, really important. And I'll let me give you a little background, right? So we hear the word PR all the time, right? We hear that term all the time. But PR stands for public relations. And the person that does public relations is usually a communications expert, right here, or a publicist. And basically what that means, public relations is the act or the art of telling your story to land media. And when you land this media, it will help you reach your target audience or a larger audience. I think in the past, or even now with social media and people being able to brand themselves, the PR waters have gotten a little murky. I'll say that. But I am a trained, I have my bachelor's degree in communications and PR, and I have a master's degree in public communications. So I've studied this, and I know the writing that it takes. I know the thought process that it takes. I know the skills that it takes to be able to tell these stories. And while I am skilled in this, that doesn't mean you can't do it too. But I wanted to make sure everybody understood what PR actually means. So again, PR stands for public relations, which is the art of telling your story in a way that will entice or make members of the media share it to your target audience, so that more people can know what you do. And public relations used to be just about writing a press release and like staging a cool event. But because of social media, there's so many opportunities and so many different ways to reach the press and share your story using your content and using PR to extend past, right, your timeline. That's why we're here today. I hope you didn't think I went on a tangent. I promise you this won't be a long episode. Public relations, again, is so valuable. And I think that sometimes we forget how important it is. Okay, telling your story is vital. I really do wish that more content creators would use public relations to their advantage, because sharing or pitching the media your content can just like take it to the next level. And I'll give you an example. So I recently, earlier this year, my company pitched, or we created this content calendar called Black Girl Holidays, which you see right here. I did a press run. I sent it to all the relevant members of the media who I felt like should be talking about this. And that meant your XO Nicole's, your Essence magazines, your BET, local podcasts, bloggers, local TV stations. I pitched all of these, right? Some worked, some didn't. One of the podcasts that I pitched was the Getting Grown podcast that is hosted by Dr. Takia Robinson and Jade. I don't know Jade's last name, my bad girl. But I sent them the pitch email, the same pitch email that I sent to everybody else. And Dr. Takia thought it was a dope concept. And so she decided to feature Black Girl Holidays in their March 1st or March International Women's Day podcast episode. Now, Getting Grown has probably like millions of downloads at this point. They're very, very well known. And for her or for them to talk about Black Girl Holidays from an email that I sent was PR at its finest, right? That's PR gold. So in them just mentioning Black Girl Holidays, we sold $3,000 worth of calendars in like a half a day. Okay, 12 hours, $3,000. That well exceeded our goal for 2 months. And I didn't have to spend any money to get it done. So that right there is the value of public relations. And again, I hope that this episode helps you see that you too can pitch your amazing content, your amazing products, okay? So here goes. I'm gonna give you 3 reasons why you should be pitching your content to the media, all right? The first, and probably one of the most important, is that the algorithm only allows for a very super small percentage of your content to be seen by your followers. I've seen a ton of creators recently, Black women especially, talk about how they have 10,000 followers, real people, but they're only getting 100 likes. I don't think, when you look at the numbers, that just doesn't even make sense. And they're not getting the engagement. We've seen articles of people who have huge followings and they release products that don't sell. Now, don't get me wrong. Some of that is because these people haven't built relationships with their customer. But I'm not talking about those people, right? I'm talking about the content creators who are creating content that is relevant and relatable, creating content that they know their audience wants to see because their audience has told them. These are the creators that are talking back. Like, no matter how awesome you are, the algorithm plays favorites. And we know that. The algorithm plays favorites. You kind of have to think around that and figure out other ways to reach the masses. Your Instagram feed, your Twitter feed, your Facebook feed, those are great, but they're all technology based, and they're all based in what the platform or how the platform wants things to perform, because we also have ad dollars that play into things. So I think if you're using your social media to share your story and your content, that's great. But what if you also use the larger media networks, even the local media networks, to tap into an audience that your social media platform isn't going to reach? Again, because the algorithm is crazy. So that's the first reason. The second reason why you should pitch your content to the media is because if you're only sharing things through social media, you're not really reaching new people. And I'll use another example. So my business, CAMPspace, was recently featured on a few local news publications. One was a local TV station, and the other one was a local business, their kind of web series. And every time that happens, especially when it's local, I get a ton of phone calls because there are so many people who I didn't even know were in my target audience, who want to shoot and they want to create content and they want to build their brands, and they just don't know how to do it. So when they happened to be getting ready in the morning and they saw that we were on the news, they was like, oh my God. And they Googled me and they called the business. And so these are people that they don't follow us on Instagram because they don't know we exist. But because they saw us on the news, it all clicked, and now they are a new prospective customer. So number 2, you definitely want to pitch your media to reach new people. Yes, you do get new followers on Instagram, but again, as I said before, if you're not on the Explore page, or if you're not paying for an ad, random new people aren't going to see what you created or see your content. So you just have to have another way to reach those people. And the third reason why you want to pitch your content is, for the most part, it's free. It's actually against the law to pay a journalist to cover you unless it's an ad. And if it's an ad, then the world has to know that it's an ad. Hashtag sponsored post, hashtag ad, hashtag partner. So if you see those types of things, then you know it's an ad and it was paid for, right? But if you don't see that and you're realizing that a media outlet is covering a person or an event or content, then that just means it's earned media and they didn't pay for it. Now, when you get into, yes, it's free, and free is also good. Now, of course, there are opportunities to spend money when you're putting together a PR campaign, But for the purposes of this conversation, if you are sending an email to a journalist or a producer telling them why your content matters, that's not going to cost you any money. So those are the top 3 reasons why you should pitch your content to the media. All right, now to the good stuff. How do you actually pitch your content to the media? We know the why. Now we need to dig into the how, because that's why we're here. So here's how to pitch your content. Number 1, you need to have great goddamn content, period. Your messages need to be clear. Your captions need to tell stories. They need to evoke emotion. So they need to either make somebody laugh, they need to make somebody ponder, they need to maybe make somebody cry, depending on what kind of content that it is. Your photos should be crisp and professional, and your aesthetic should be cohesive, right? I think that those are pretty bare minimum stuff. And with that, when we talk about having your content being great, it needs to be complete. So there needs to be a way for people to contact you. There should be a website or a place where people can find out more about you. All of those things matter. And I know sometimes people think, I don't need all that. But you do if you want to be taken as a person who is serious about their content. And yes, I know that sometimes content that is not up to par goes viral. But typically that don't happen like that. Things that go viral there's special reasons why these things happen. You know, if we're just talking everyday news content that journalists are looking for, they want to get it from people who have their shit together and whose content is great. So once you have great content, you want to make it timely or relatable to something that's happening in the world. To give you an example, when I was pitching Black Girl Holidays, it actually released the day before Vice President Kamala Harris was inaugurated, and we went on a really big PR push during that time, right? Because she's a Black woman in the office. That's a big holiday. Into Black History Month, because this is a calendar filled with holidays about Black women. And then into March, which is Women's History Month. So with every pitch that I sent, I kind of tweaked it to fit the time period that we were in. So if it was January, it was around the inauguration. If it was February, the pitch was centered around Black History Month. And again, if it was in March, the pitch was centered around Women's History Month. And that can change, right? So I can still pitch Black Girl Holidays now. I just have to find some other relatable thing to connect it to. So that's the first how. The second how, make it timely and relatable to what's happening in the world. The third thing that you're going to do is find out who's covering your beat. You need to find out who in the media is talking about what you talk about, right? I can look on social media right now and find exactly what reporters are talking about Black women content creators, Black mom business owners, all of the things that fit within my brand and what type of media I would want to tell the story of my business. So now that I know who those people are, you know, I've done research, I've read their articles, I'm more confident in reaching out to them about what my business is doing. And so when you're thinking about reporters and journalists that you want to write an article about what you're doing, make sure that you guys are speaking the same language. Like, I would not pitch the Black Girl Holidays content calendar to a food magazine, even if it was a Black food magazine. Like, it doesn't really make sense unless there was like an insane amount of food bloggers that were featured in the calendar or something like that. But it just has to connect. And then number 4, just be confident and tell them what you're doing, right? So we have to step out of this idea of thinking things are just going to come to us, because they're not. Closed mouths don't get fed, and the squeaky wheel gets the oil, okay? So you have to talk about yourself. If you're confident that your content is amazing and you know that it's timely and you found the right person who would be perfect to tell your story to their audience or their readers or their viewers, then be confident and tell that thing, okay? Draft an email, send it out to them, and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to stop being afraid to speak up and about ourselves. And I'm speaking to myself. It took me so long to be comfortable pitching my business to the media. I even hired someone else to do it. And it's like, girl, number 1, I'm a PR person. I know how to do this. And so I had to get confident and because I knew my business was great. I knew the content was great. And I knew that it was timely in this world that we're living in where Black women are the ultimate creators. And so I just had to find who was talking about it. And then I went in, and I'm sending emails all the time. I'm sending pitch emails all the time. And every one is not going to land. You could send 75 pitch emails and only 10 actually get you into the papers or on the news features. But that's 10 that you didn't have before. Those are hundreds of thousands of eyes that are now seeing your business that didn't know you existed before. So you just got to do it. All right. So yeah, step out on faith, shoot your shot. And listen, you could totally hire a person like me or a PR team to do this for you. Right. Like, if you already know that you ain't trying to deal with this, then don't, sis. But if you know that you might not have the budget for this type of stuff, and I'll tell you, public relations outreach, if you're just dealing with like a one-man show, it's probably going to cost you about $2,500 to $3,000 a month. But if you're dealing with a company with overhead and all that, you're going to be paying at least $5K, $6K. And if you're dealing with one of the big wigs in PR, $10 to $20K. Just so they can help put the story together. Your first few months, you're not being pitched, right? Because they have to pull the story together. They have to pull all the assets. So a lot goes into it. But how awesome would it be if you could save all that money, pitch yourself, and maybe put some of that money to some paid ads that would run congruently with your PR outreach. In my opinion, that's a much more strategic way to do it. Yes, it'll take some more work on your end. It'll take some more thinking and some more groundwork. The rewards are just much sweeter. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, are you ready and excited to pitch in your content? Yes, I know you are. I just posted on my Instagram page about some recent press that I received for my business. It's actually the video of the local news station that covered the space, I think last week. But it's actually still in rotation. So even though it originally aired last week, the news station is continuing to play it like every day. I think because the engagement on it is so high. So they're just going to keep playing it, which means more people are going to keep seeing it. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, and it didn't cost me a thing. So yeah, I just posted it on my Instagram page, and I want you to check it out. And let me know in the comments of that post if this episode is helpful to you. And if you want to know more about how really to get this done, you are in luck. My business, CAMPspace, will be launching a program that teaches you, content creators, how to create branding and pitch yourself to the media. Ding, 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 ding. So if you visit prforcontentcreators.com, sign up today so that you'll be one of the first people to know about the program when it launches. It will be launching in the next month or so. And if you sign up for the email list, if you join the community now, you'll have access to some freebies and coupons and giveaways that those who don't hear about it beforehand just won't have access to. So again, www.prforcontentcreators.com. Register and just stay tuned, because I'm going to go way deeper into this whole thing, because I just want everybody to win, and I want people to take it beyond their feeds and take it beyond just taking pretty pictures, because it can be so much more than that. And I think part of it is not knowing that it can be. The other part is not knowing how. And then the third part is just being scared. So we're going to change all of that. So www.prforcontentcreators.com. Sign up. It's going to be lit. I think that's all for now. If you have questions that you want answered on the show that pertain to Black business, entrepreneurship, marketing, PR, branding, content creation, that's my jam. Send an email. Send that question to info@campworkspace.com. Again, info@campworkspace.com, and I will try to answer it on air for the next episode. Thank you, guys. I'm happy to be back on video, even though it's not in the studio where I usually record, but it's okay. I love and appreciate you all. See you next week, and be sure to subscribe to this podcast, screenshot and share the episode, via social media. Tag me. Write a review. Let me know what you think about this. We got a lot of reviews when the podcast first launched a year ago, and then they just kind of stopped. And I don't want that. I want people to be listening to this. Tap into what we doing here, y'all. I love you forever. Thank you. I appreciate you. Bye.
Shades of Content is brought to you by and recorded at CAMPspace, a content creator studio for women of color. To learn more, visit www.campworkspace.com.